My name is Oscar Vigliano. I was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina, and I came to the United States in February, at the end of February of 1964. When I left Argentina at the time, it was very chaotic, as it's been for many years, before and after. And I happened to had an aunt and an uncle that lived in the United States, and they offered that I could stay with them. So I did, and that's why I came to the U.S., and that's why I chose to live in St. Joseph, Missouri, a town that hardly anybody knows. First of all, when I was doing the paperwork and applying to come to the U.S. as an immigrant, I went to the U.S. Consulate office in Buenos Aires to do the paperwork and so forth. And at some point during the negotiations to get this done, they told me, it wasn't a surprise, they told me that since I was going to the US at the age that I was, 19, I was going to be subject to the draft. And seems like maybe just a few weeks later, maybe a month or two, I can't remember, I got a letter saying, congratulations, you passed the physical with flying colors. I remember that was the wording, with flying colors, and you are going to be drafted now to serve in the US military. We got orders to go to Vietnam a couple of weeks or 3 weeks or so into the training. No, we didn't get orders. Actually, we got orders at the last minute. We were told that we were going. It was all verbal during the training, infantry training. So then we finished that, and we got orders, and then we went to Fort Polk, Louisiana, north of New Orleans, in the middle of Louisiana, what they called the Viet Cong village, VC village, Tiger Land, the different names they had for it. And we did Viet Cong/Vietnam training.
Did you feel fully prepared to be there?
No. The unit's primary responsibility was to try to patrol the entire area, which was a pretty wide area, from the North China Sea on the east to the Laotian border and the Cambodian border that kind of came together in that part of the map, and try to keep NVA, North Vietnamese Regular Army, from infiltrating. And that's how they got the Ho Chi Minh Trail started, which instead of infiltrating through North Vietnam down to South Vietnam, they would get on the other side, Laos and Cambodia, and come down through there and then come in as they wanted to. But our job was, we had it all divided, and it was to patrol during the day, at night, go and come back. Sometimes we would get intel reports that there was some kind of a area where where North Vietnamese and Viet Cong were seen establishing bases or whatever, and we would go and determine where they were, determine the strength of who they were, and keep them from getting out of that area, whatever they were. They made a statement. They made the statement that they could do what we didn't think they could. They had deployed more than 85,000 people. But everybody else was a foreigner like me. There were a couple of guys from Argentina, well, me and another guy. There were guys from Germany, England, Canada, Guatemala, Mexico. Those are the ones that I can name right off the bat because I remember them. Ecuador. guys exactly in the same circumstances, immigrated to the U.S. The draft applied to everybody at that time, which a lot of people now they don't know that, because when I tell them that I was drafted, well, you were not an American and you were drafted. Yeah, that's what it was at the time. I was always looking for ways to feel that I could relate to what was going on. And here's this guy, staff sergeant, who was of German descent, though he was an American in NCO. And then this first lieutenant, who was Japanese, even though he spoke, of course, like a regular American and everything. But I saw him as not the traditional, blue-eyed, blonde American. So I was trying to feel somewhat at home, in a place like that. At the time, I didn't think of myself as any kind of a leader. I didn't. I mean, there were again, like I said, I was in E2. I can't remember exactly when I turned PFC 3, a little later. But there were people, to me, Sergeant E5, that 3-stripe sergeant, buck sergeant. Wow, big guy. First sergeant, master sergeant. To me, those guys, I looked up to those guys big time. But showing by example and by your own attitude and your actions, that this is how things should be done, and take what you're doing seriously, and go from there. In the military, as you guys know, there's a lot of dead time. Seems like that we're doing anything, just sitting around doing trivial stuff. But we needed to do some things, paying attention to if there was a mission to be on. We were being briefed, and someone is, joking around, doing stupid things, not paying attention. Yeah, then we had to say, hey, what are you doing? You're distracting, you're not paying attention. Either shut up and pay attention or get out of here. January of 1968, we were about 10 kilometers or so north of the base on patrol, and I was behind the guy that was point guard. Reem was this guy's last name. Short little guy, we called him the Turtle. And he stepped on either, I don't know for sure, nobody knew for sure, either stepped or somehow triggered bouncing Betty, we call them, a mine that jumps up and about 4 feet up in the air and explodes then. And of course killed him and hit me in the face. And I remember when the explosion happened, and I went down, but I said I was conscious, awake, and I remember looking at Terry, this guy Terry Reem, and I remember thinking, why is his towel red? Most of his head was gone. It missed my right eye by just a few inches, and basically the rest was all cartilage and flesh, but it was bleeding a lot, and my nose was pretty much almost detached from my face. So we left that area. I was evacuated back to base, and that basically was my last patrol.